2 years ago, I started what I call All Together Now Pennsylvania. That's my state of Pennsylvania. Our mission is to connect rural and urban communities to build resilient, just, and regenerative regional economies. Our focus is on supply chains. I was motivated first 2 years ago when hemp was legalized. The United States made a very foolish mistake 80 years ago in making hemp illegal. And so that held us back. And suddenly it became legal again. And as I got to know this versatile plant, I saw the possibilities of hemp providing for almost all our basic needs. It's a food with hemp flour and hemp cooking oil and so on, and also as a plant medicine with CBD and THC and other cannabinoids that aren't even discovered yet. Building materials with hempcrete, which is a building material that takes the place of toxic fiberglass, that pink fiberglass stuff that used for insulation and styrofoam and so on, as well as clothing and textiles, and then other things as well, paper, and it could even be a biofuel. So you could survive on hemp alone, really, providing all the basic needs. But yet in our state, there was a green gold rush. All of the large corporations were coming into our state to take advantage, of this new opportunity. And so I thought now is the time to strike, that we can't allow this new industry to be taken over by outside corporations. So I organized what I called the Hemp Local Supply Chain Coalition 2 years ago, and invited farmers and entrepreneurs and researchers and advocates to join our group. And we started educating ourselves, going around to the farms, went to Rodale Institute that was doing trials in hemp, went to Thomas Jefferson University where they were doing experimentation and the end uses of hemp. Then I eventually realized that that in order for farmers to grow hemp, they had to know who was going to buy the hemp. And so we needed to develop the businesses that would be the end uses of hemp. Mind you, this was such a new industry. There's no infrastructure, there no products, nothing. It was all illegal. Any hemp that the United States had was imported from Canada or even from Europe. So then I developed the supply chain coalitions around the end use. So we have a food coalition, local food coalition, clothing and textile coalition, plant medicine coalition, and sustainable building materials. And so although our focus is on hemp, we also are looking at the whole vision for a self-reliant, resilient, just, and regenerative local economy. In the food area, we have a grain coalition that includes grains other than hemp, various heritage grains, and there we're trying to connect the grain farmers with the end users, the pasta makers, the bread makers, the noodle makers, the empanada makers, the brewers, the distillers, and we partnered in an event called the Grain Train, which was a public event where people could appreciate all the different products made from local grains. And so with clothing and textiles, we've organized local clothing designers and manufacturers to promote the idea that people buy clothing that's locally made, though it might be more expensive to buy less. To me, that's sort of the foundation of all this work, is a change in consciousness, to recognize that we're interconnected with other people and with nature and so on. And that when we make economic decisions, whether we're a consumer or a business owner or an investor, that rather than making decisions that maximize our profit and material goods, that we make decisions in the best interest of the well-being of our communities and the well-being of our ecosystems. And that's the shift that is really necessary if we're going to save civilization, period. but certainly necessary for making the economic decisions that are needed to localize our economy. And this urban-rural divide that is really endangering our democracy is something we feel the healing of this divide is kind of a byproduct of our work. And I was thinking about how it wasn't so long ago when rural and urban communities were connected because they co-created local supply chains and were interdependent on those supply chains. And there was a trust and a respect and an understanding between rural and urban communities. And that was all shattered by globalization that severed these local supply chains and cast both communities aside. So I feel that the meeting place of the left and the right in the United States lies in local self-reliance.